So, could this be one of President Tinubu's biggest policy misjudgments since he came to office? His tax reform bill was supposed to make taxes, especially VAT, fairer and more accountable. Instead, it triggered fierce opposition from the North and its governors, and even triggered something close to rebellion within the president's own APC party. Well, now, in what some analysts say is a pinpoint political moment for the president, his flagship tax reform policy has been hit by something like a juggernaut, crushing it in its path. So what was supposed to be a simple tax reform in principle has turned out to be immensely complicated in practice, with the technical challenges of introducing it paling beside the political problems it threw up. So now that the National Assembly has agreed to withdraw the bill, in effect forcing the government into this radical review, how do Mr. Tinubu and his team find a way out of this new predicament? How do they take the guts out of the tax reform plan in order to make it more acceptable?
It's on this note that the Committee on Finance that the bills have been referred to should halt action on public hearing and other issues until we resolve these issues. There should be a forum that will sit with the Attorney General of the Federation so that we can sit and look at all the areas of disagreement and resolve them. Resolve them for the interest of this nation. It is therefore proposed that by tomorrow, there will be a meeting with the committee that we've set up here and the leadership to sit down with the Attorney General to look at those issues and resolve them.
Well, for more on this, I'm suitably delighted to say that I'm joined now on the line from Lafia by the Governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule. Governor Sule, thank you very much indeed for joining us, taking the time to talk to us on what we know is a busy day for you. You were one of the governors who wanted this bill to be withdrawn. You must be very happy because it has been withdrawn now. Tell us why.
Thank you very much for having me, but let me correct some of the impressions. The idea is not like we're very happy just because this bill has been withdrawn. It was not a challenge. It was not a rebellion. It was just an opportunity, for us to withdraw the bill so that we can go through it and understand. You see, what happened is that a lot of people did not understand the position of the northern governors. As a result, it became almost like a regional issue. That's why some of us who have very good understanding of what it is decided to be a little bit quiet. For instance, there are 4 bills involved in this. There is the NTB. The NTB is the Nigerian Tax Bill 2024. There is also the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, the NTAP 2024. There is also another bill, the Nigerian Revenue Board Establishment Bill, NRBEB 2024. And finally, there is the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill, JRBEB 2024. These are the 4 bills that were submitted. It's not like the northern governors jump up and say, okay, we don't like all these bills, we don't like other people think the northern governors. The area that the northern governors capitalize on to say that we want a little more answer, it started with the VAT. It started with the VAT not only necessarily in the area of generating the VAT, but it also goes to look at, the proposal about the increase in the VAT. The bill is proposing that there will be an increase from our 7.5% currently to 10%, and from 2026 it goes to 12.5%, and it remains there at 12.5% until 2030. By 2030, it will increase now to 15%. So the northern governors sat down, in addition to looking at so many other things affecting the northern governors, said that, is this the right time to review this? Is this the right time to do this? Can we discuss this some more? Can we explain some of the challenges that we have in the north? And then it goes into the next area of contentious area. That is the area of saying this bill is going to change the sharing formula. Currently, you have a sharing formula, where you are having 15% to the federal government, 35% to the local government, 50% to the states. And then in addition, there is an upfront 20% that goes to the point of generation. So now that point of generation is going to change to become 60%. And a lot of us who understand this, and sir, I'm talking to you from the point of somebody who was a collector for the federal government. Because in reality, I work as the managing director of African Petroleum. At the time, I was collecting VAT for the federal government. When I went also as the group managing director of the Dangote Sugar, I was collecting VAT for the federal government and then remitting it directly to the federal government. Both companies based in Lagos. So I said, all right, I understand how this collection is done. I understand how the distribution is done. And it will not be fair to change it from 20% to 60%. So we say, you know what, instead of confronting government with these things, why don't us stay back, withdraw the bill, look at it, and this. And yesterday, day before yesterday, I had a wonderful time, actually. The time that I had, the most exciting time that I had was when Taiwo, who is being credited with actually initiating part of this bill, said something during their town hall meeting that Channels Television actually initiated. And he said something like this. And he said, it is not perfect bill. It is after I spoke. He said it's not a perfect bill. We are willing to review it. We are willing to look at it. We are willing to make changes. And that answers what the northern governors have been talking about anyway. It already says that, because there are so many other areas of this bill that need to be looked into. There is a development levy that is attached to this bill, and that is the one that goes to address Seni, to go to address TED Fund and the rest of that. So a lot of people have not even understood the bill. Don't understand any. They thought it's just one bill.
Right.
And they go ahead and start saying all kinds of things.
Well,
and because of sometimes, so when people like that hijack it, who have zero knowledge about anything about that, then some of us will just keep quiet and let it go. So to answer your question, it's not like I'm excited that like we have gone to war and defeated anybody. No. If I'm excited because at least the Senate has listened to us and they have taken the bill back and they are willing to review it and they are willing to discuss it. And we are willing to contribute the little that we know.
Right. Well, I mean, thank you, Governor, for setting that out, your position out as clearly as you have. You made some very solid points there. But, I mean, just listening to you, and some of the issues you have with that bill. I mean, it sounds more political than anything else, because looking at the bill, I mean, a significant chunk of it seems to favor the poor, small and medium businesses, etc. And a lot of people are scratching their heads and wondering what the problem is. I mean, are there aspects of that bill that you think are good for Nigeria and will benefit many Nigerians? Because most of the people who will not be taxed as a result of the amendments in that reform bill, most of the people who will not be taxed are going to be in the north, aren't they?
Well, I agree with you. I was the first, in fact, when we just got back from the Northern Governors Forum, I was the first actually to appear on Channels Television with Sheun. And I started by saying that there are some very good aspects of this bill. I will give you a good example. I have spent most of my career in building businesses. And one of the things new businesses hate is a situation where there is multiple taxation. Now, this bill is going to address multiple taxation. So as somebody who builds businesses, I love that aspect of the bill. It's fantastic, and it's the right thing to do. There is another aspect of this bill that is also fantastic. This bill is encouraging agricultural production. Nigeria actually can do well, by that aspect. This is one of the things that is there. And there are so many other things, like you mentioned. Certain people that should not be taxed shouldn't be taxed. Certain people that should be given some kind of relief should be given them relief. That is also good for the bill. So that's why I told you there are 4 bills. It's not just like one bill that we are talking about. The only thing is that people capitalize on it. Let me tell you one statement that somebody made that had absolutely got me so upset. And I say, you know what? I stopped talking about this thing. And he said, these northern governors, Let them go and find, let them stop being lazy. Let them go and find how to make money instead of wasting their time worrying about other people's money. I say, oh boy, let me tell you where this VAT is coming from. VAT is consumer tax, for God's sake. It is people who are actually consuming that are paying. And some of the bigger companies today that are actually paying VAT are the cement companies, the sugar companies. I was the immediate group managing director of Dangote Sugar, running the biggest sugar company in Nigeria. And what was our job? Dangote Cement today, for instance, is loading roughly 25,000 tons of Bajana daily. 25,000 tons, by the time you multiply it, that is already roughly 833 trucks of 30,000 tons. Okay? If you go to Ibeshe, they are loading 20,000 metric tons a day. If you multiply that, it is going to give you maybe roughly 400,000 bags a day. Then that will translate into about 600 and something thousand trucks that are going to be daily. By the time you put the two together, you are talking about not less than 1,500 trucks that are loaded of cement. Now, each bag of this that we are talking about is going to pay at least 500 naira, because if you take 10% of 5,000 naira, that is going to give you not less than 330 million naira. That is a VAT that is going to pay on a daily basis. Take the sugar, the company I run. Okay? If you take that, it's loaded at approximately 120 to 130 trucks a day. Sugar is going today for roughly 80,000 naira. Now, let me tell you, where is that 1,500 trucks going? It's not going to anywhere, but majority, 60% of it is going to the northern part of the country. So they are the ones consuming. The sugar that we are talking about, roughly 65% of it is going to the northern part of the country. They are the ones consuming. So they are the ones paying the VAT.
Right.
So now, how do you tell somebody that he is lazy, he is not generating the revenue? So you're talking, that's why I say the debate has been hijacked by people who have zero knowledge about what VAT is and how VAT is being generated.
I mean, obviously,
that is the problem I have.
Right. Obviously, I understand how you would feel if somebody said that. That might not be the fairest comments to have made in a country where there are a lot of sensitivities about different things. But, Governor, some have suggested, in fact, somebody from the north suggested this, a member of the House of Representatives, that there is a religious element to this tax bill, and specifically the aspect that deals with inheritance tax, which is said to be against Sharia law. I mean, is that a fact or is it conjecture?
I have had this debate many times, and I'm happy that my dear friend Tayo answered this part. The entire thing about beer, I know that's the alcohol that you are going to go to. The VAT contribution to Nigeria on alcohol is about 2%. 2. That's what it is. But the way people talk about it is like beer, alcohol is contributed 50% of our VAT. It's contributing 2% of it. Now, where are some of these breweries? Some of them are right here in the north.
Yeah, but sorry to interrupt you, Governor. Sorry, I apologize for interrupting you. They're not talking about the alcohol tax. They're talking about inheritance tax, because in that reform bill is inheritance tax, which is going to be taxed. And some members of the National Assembly from the north have suggested that that aspect that deals with inheritance tax is against Sharia law because it is not supposed to be taxed. And that is one of the problems that they have with it. And I was wondering if you were aware of this and whether or not you see that as a potential issue and one of the reasons why the North has opposed that reform bill.
There are so many issues, sir, that if you take this bill, the people ask questions. So like you rightly mentioned, there are people that will continue to ask questions. So when some of the members probably read that part and they have questions. Now you see the reason why the Northern governor say we want to withdraw it and check it and discuss it. I love the town hall meeting they had 2 days ago. There should be so many town hall meetings like that, so that you can discuss this and move on and be able to solve that. So that it will look like it is a war of a region. So many southern states will be disadvantaged by this new bill. A couple of northern states will be advantaged by this bill. And I give you one example. One example is Kano. When I produce 100 trucks of sugar and I was going to ship, okay, probably 60 trucks out of that, a customer in Kano will buy it. Sambajo, Sabotankoli, or any one of those. One of them will buy it. And when they buy that, the invoice will read like the consumption is in Kano. But it's because the owner of the money is in Kano. Therefore, the consumption is no longer in Kano. The guy who bought it has branches all over the north. And so he's going to distribute this sugar all over the place. It's the same thing with cement, the same thing with petroleum. When I run AP as the MD, it's the same thing. Okay? So many of these big customers, like Renault, like Azman, like Remy Holdings, they will also come and buy 50 trucks, 100 trucks. But the invoice will read Kano, therefore consumption will read Kano. But in reality, it's the owner of the money that is in Kano. The consumption is probably Abuja, Yola, Maiduguri, Lafia, and the rest of that. So that's why I said, let us even discuss it. Some of the people that we are talking about are generating this have no practical knowledge of some of the issues that we are talking about. And some of us that got so kind, we maintained. I was a laborer for most of my life. So I worked for some of these companies and I had the opportunity of understanding it. And I was a tax collector for VAT. So why won't you wait and listen to other people and listen to their own? And you can take it or leave it.
Well,
that's the idea. We are not saying that you take what we are saying, but let us tell you, if you like, you take it. If you don't like, throw it away.
Well, in furtherance,
what democracy is.
Sure. In furtherance of the point that you're making, Governor, how do you think it should be dealt with from here? I mean, some have suggested that the bill should be translated to Hausa, for example, so that more people in the north can understand it. Is that something that you would support?
Well, for some of us who don't understand English, maybe you can do that. You can see the way that people are taking it as a joke anymore.
Governor, Governor, you're very well educated. We're not talking about you. You're a governor. We're talking about ordinary people.
Yeah. Okay. So there are so many Yorubas that can speak English. There are so many Igbo that can speak English. I married from Afiko in Ebonyi. When I went there were so many people that couldn't speak English. They only speak Igbo. So are you going? Such bills are not for everybody. The bills are meant for certain people, and I'm sure those certain people, wherever they are in Nigeria, understand English. I don't think there is any need to translate this bill to Hausa. With due respect.
Right. Okay. And that was obviously meant respectfully. Because that's not actually coming from me. It was raised by a member of the National Assembly who is from the north. So, Governor, do you think this bill can get past all these peripheral and mainstream opposition and return perhaps in a modified form to the National Assembly? Or do you think that it is effectively dead in the way that it is now and a completely new type of reform bill will have to be represented to the National Assembly?
I will pray that the bill will be returned to the National Assembly amended. I will pray that we will look at the areas of concern and amend them accordingly. I will pray that we don't throw away the entire bill. We don't throw away the baby and the bathwater together. I believe very strongly there are areas that are of benefit to all Nigerians. And I believe that there are areas that are challenging to all Nigerians. It's not just to the northern part of the country, to all Nigerians. There are certain areas that are challenges to them. My good friend, the governor of Lagos. Some even said there are some aspects of the bill that will be disadvantageous to him because everybody accuses Lagos, Lagos, Lagos. So he mentioned that there are some areas of the bill that may not actually benefit Lagos. So he is also against some other parts of the bill. So I think that's the way we have to look at it. I'm happy that if they have withdrawn it, I'm happy that they did, but it gives us the opportunity to sit down. Remember, NEC is made up of all the 36 governors and the FCT minister.
Right.
Is also made up of the budget minister of finance and is being chaired by the vice president, the number 2 person in the whole of Nigeria.
Right.
So NEC say, please, and review it and that. So who am I to say otherwise?
Okay.
I think it is in order that you...
Well, Governor, we've got just about under 2 minutes left, and we really appreciate your taking the time to talk to us and explain your position to us. But let's just moving away from tax reform to the issue of the minimum wage. The Nigeria Labour Congress has listed your state, Nasarawa, as one of the states that had failed to implement the new minimum wage. They threatened to go on strike in Nasarawa State and more than a dozen others. Have you approved that minimum wage now and been able to avert a strike or not?
Nasarawa State has agreed with the minimum wage already a long time ago, and we agreed our minimum wage is 70,500. The challenge we are having with labor in Nasarawa State is not about the minimum wage itself, it's about what they call consequential adjustment. They are referring to other people who at least were earning more than 70,000, how much you give them increment. For instance, somebody that was earning 30,000 as minimum wage, today you are paying him 70,500. That's an increase of 40,500. So some of the people that probably are earning, far more than that, they are also expecting the kind of percentage. That's over 100%. So for somebody earning 800,000, he is expecting that we pay him at least another 800,000. And that's the part we say, we cannot do that. Nasarawa State doesn't have the kind of resources to pay, especially Nasarawa. Since we came, Nasarawa State has done all the promotion up to date. We are one of the few states in the Federation that were up to date. In fact, the local government employees have their a promotion all the way to July. That's, in fact, I was just told this afternoon, I thought it's December last year. They say no, all the way to July. And then the state workers have their promotion all the way to December 2023. We have commissioned that, we have paid that, we have finished with that. We are paying the 70,500 minimum wage, but they are still insisting that we have to also address what they call the consequential adjustment. That's where we are. It's not about minimum wage in Nasarawa State.
Okay, well, I hope that it gets resolved very soon, and I really appreciate the time that you've taken to talk to us. Governor Abdullahi Sule is the executive governor of Nasarawa State, and he was talking to me on the line there from Lafia. Thank you very much indeed.